Good morning and welcome to your daily AI Digest. It's Friday, April 10th, 2026, and today feels different. It feels like the world of AI just shifted into a whole new gear. What we're tracking is a really fundamental change in what AI even is. You see, we're moving past AI as just a tool, something that simply responds to our commands. We're now entering an era of what's being called agentic autonomy. That's a fancy way of saying these systems are starting to act on their own, as independent players in the economy and even on the world stage. So let's break down what that actually means. And our top story today really captures the two sides of this coin, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got this incredible advance in the real physical world, and on the other, a pretty chilling development in the digital one. All right, let's start with the breakthrough. Pony.ai just launched something called PonyWorld 2.0. And look, this is not just another software update. This is a huge deal. It's the first AI at a commercial scale that can figure out its own problems. So instead of waiting for a human engineer to spot a bug, the AI diagnoses its own driving mistakes. And then, get this, it actively sends its fleet of cars out into the world to collect the exact data it needs to fix itself. The trading loop is completely closed. No humans needed. We are, and I mean this literally, watching the birth of a self-improving machine. Okay, so for a car, that's incredible, right? A self-fixing car. But it really makes you think, what happens when you take that same kind of autonomous, problem-seeking intelligence and you point it at our digital world? And that question brings us to what's now being called the mythos crisis. Anthropic built a new model, and it turns out it's so good at finding software flaws, we're talking about vulnerabilities that have been hiding for decades, that they've had to lock it down. It's now being classified as a dual-use technology. In other words, a digital weapon. Access is now incredibly restricted, only available to a small group of security partners. The age of AI-driven cyber weapons, it's not a theory anymore. It's here. So, this incredible new power is, as you can imagine, forcing all the major players to rethink their strategies. It's kicking off a whole new generation of model wars. Let's look at what's coming down the pipe from Meta and OpenAI. And what's fascinating is that their strategies are going in totally different directions. So on one side, you have Meta with its new flagship Muse Spark. This is a ground-up rebuild. They've ditched their open-source Llama approach for a totally closed system. And it's natively multimodal, meaning it can see, hear, and understand the world all at once in real time. Then you've got OpenAI. Rumors are swirling about their next model codenamed Spud. And this isn't just another update to GPT. Sources say it's a completely new architecture, one designed specifically for autonomous, multi-step tasks. Giving it a goal and letting it figure out how to get there on its own. And if you look at the early benchmark data, you can really see Meta's strategy taking shape. Just look at these numbers. Muse Spark is crushing its rivals on this HealthBench hard benchmark. And that's no fluke. They worked with more than 1,000 doctors to tune this thing. They're clearly going after very specific, very high-value industries where having an ultra-reliable AI could be a total game changer. But OpenAI, their ambitions are much, much bigger. Just listen to this quote from their president, Greg Brockman. With the arrival of Spud, we now have a line of sight to AGI. He's not just talking about a better chatbot here. He is making a direct claim that their next model puts them on a clear path to artificial general intelligence, and that it could happen within just 2 years. I mean, the stakes in this race just went through the roof. Of course, all these incredible models, all this amazing software, it's all useless without the hardware to run it on. And that brings us to the world of silicon, where the geopolitical chessboard is getting very, very interesting. And in that world, Nvidia is still the undisputed king. Their stock just wrapped up a 7-day winning streak, and that's more than just a number. It's the market screaming that Nvidia's role in this revolution is absolutely foundational. Some would even say monopolistic. But there is a wrinkle. We're getting reports from the supply chain that Nvidia's next-gen Rubin chip platform is hitting some delays. Now, look at what this does to the market. It means the current Blackwell chips are going to dominate for a lot longer than anyone expected, taking up over 70% of the high-end GPU market this year. And what does that mean for everyone else? It probably means the dream of cheaper AI is getting pushed back a bit. But that's not the biggest hardware story. Here is the real bombshell of the day. A new report confirms that the Chinese AI lab DeepSeek has managed to train its latest model using those exact top-of-the-line, prohibited Nvidia Blackwell chips. So despite a total U.S. export ban, they got them.
and they're using them. This is a huge deal because it strongly suggests that trying to control AI's spread by controlling the hardware, well, it might not be working.
And that urgency to get your hands on these chips is fueling an absolute gold rush for capital. The amount of money we're talking about now has just blown past traditional venture capital. It's creating a whole new type of asset class.
I mean, just to wrap your head around the scale, look at this number. OpenAI's latest funding round was for $122 billion. That's not just a record, it's the kind of money entire countries invest. It's nation-state level.
And it's not just them. Meta just signed a $21 billion deal with cloud provider CoreWeave. Why? To lock in their supply of GPUs for almost a decade, all the way to 2032. These aren't just business deals. These are multi-generational bets on who will own the future's infrastructure.
And this is why analysts have started using a new phrase, sovereign wealth class asset. We're not talking about tech startups anymore. We're talking about building the fundamental infrastructure of the 21st century. And having access to computing power is now just as strategically vital as having oil reserves was in the 20th century. But here's the thing. As this new infrastructure gets more and more powerful and more critical to everything we do, it also becomes a bigger and bigger target. And this brings us right back to that stark reality we started with, the dual-use nature of AI. Let's circle back to that Mythos crisis for a second. This model isn't just finding new bugs, it's digging up ancient flaws, things buried deep in the bedrock of our software that human experts have missed for, in some cases, over 20 years. And the fact that Anthropic's only solution was to contain it, to lock it away inside a coalition of defenders, well, that's basically admitting that our ability to create AI weapons has now officially outpaced our ability to defend against them. And this isn't just some academic thread. Just this week, an Iran-linked group called Handala claimed responsibility for a truly devastating attack on Stryker, a U.S. medical device company. And they didn't just steal data, they wiped nearly 80,000 devices clean. And in their own statement, they explicitly called digital infrastructure a primary kinetic target. The line between a cyber attack and a physical one is basically gone. So when you pull all of today's stories together, it's pretty clear that what's happening this week is so much bigger than just another tech cycle. This quote really nails it, I think. We're witnessing the rewiring of civilization itself. So if there's one thing you take away from our digest today, let it be this. A new global dividing line is being drawn right now. It's not about geography anymore, or oil, or any traditional resource. The new power dynamic is simple. It's between those who own the massive intelligence factories and everyone else who will have to rent access from them. And so that leaves us with the one question that will define the next decade. We're past the point of asking if AI will change the world. That's a given. The only question that really matters now is who is going to control the engines of that change?